Ready to get started? All right, we are reconvening to open session, 12.1. Potential board action on, you want to do it? All right, go ahead.
First board action on personnel consent agenda, Lily Rupert, contract for professional pro care, $45 an hour, start the house on. Where am I in the wrong?
No, you're in
spot?
the right spot. That's
Yeah,
me.
that's-
Yep.
Oh, he's already started, we were waiting on the
Yes,
thing.
yep.
Okay, February 27th, 2023, motion. I make the motion. Second the motion. And there was also a few more on there, Victor Motor, floating custodian, substitute teacher list. Malika Haj and Rosetta Burke, so.
And Mrs. Grove. Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzic,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Notice of retirement, Javier Castillo, Kathy Higgins. Motion,
We don't, that's just in the next two are just
Oh.
notifications.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah.
Okay, notification, resignation, okay, we got that. Potential board action to award tenure to the following individuals. Wait a second, when Maureen came back, she was already a tenured teacher when she left.
You have
But
to,
she
you have
has
to get it
started
again.
over, she
Yes.
has started over and do
Yep.
another 5 years.
4
Okay.
years. Yep.
Or 4, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. She's was here a long time. Anyhow, potential board action to award tenure to the following individuals, Vernon Alcala, Jennifer, well, how do you say that?
Chance?
Chance, Dave Pickle, and Mira Sala. I'll make the motion. Second.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzic,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Potential board action to approve retroactive unpaid leave of absence for Patricia Carrot. Motion.
I missed that one, sorry. Thanks, Shane.
I'll second it.
Miss-
Ask a question.
Yes,
Now, she's already returned, like, what if we said no?
we just,
This is just formality.
yes, to make sure we've got it. Yep, good question though. Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzic,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Potential board action to approve unpaid leave of absence for Ben Webster. I'll make the motion. I'll second the motion.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzic,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Potential board action resolution releasing the closed session minutes and the structure verbatim for his 18 months and older. Motion. I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Mrs. Lebudzic,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Motion approved. Yeah, I did. It wasn't a.
I don't think you said the name.
Yeah, Irma Garcia.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we are looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzic,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
You're-
8:23.
Have a great evening, everybody.